And the highlights now go on the light boats. Here's the B main, and here are the two headlines. You got 7 boats that are hopefully going to start this race, but only 4 will make it to the final. That's what this race is all about. It's the lights B main.
The Unlimited Lights B Main is brought to you by Budweiser, the great American lager, and is presented for Seafair by Graham Trucking, specializing in heavy intermodal drayage, flatbed, refrigerated and dry cargo around the Pacific Northwest.
Here is your Muckleshoot lineup for this B main. Power Punch, Miss Hyundai, Vestige Foreclosure, Bison Creek, U.S. Army, King and Bunnies, and Prilosec OTC. And as we said again, 4 will make the final. As we're looking at 2 minutes before the start, boats spread out all over the course here on Lake Washington. But the sky is lifting. Good time to race. About 2 miles an hour, the wind speed. And we turn things over now to the voice of Unlimited Lights, John Lynch.
Thank you, Steve. We're up at 1:45 right now. That is the score-up time. Now what the teams are going to do is move around the course. They set their lanes at that start-finish line right there. So 3 of them have crossed. The rest are coming up. They'll all be a legal score-up, but they set their lanes there and then come around to the start. Remember, the supercharged boats are outside the non-supercharged.
But when you say they set their lanes, you don't mean set by the officials. You mean they earned those lanes.
By the drivers, exactly. So we have right now who has come up, Rod Bork, who always likes to be on the inside. You're looking there at Austin Eckert. He is a rookie. He will be starting 5 seconds behind the clock, but that's behind the clock, not behind the line. If the line's late, that's their problem, not Austin's.
John, you and I both know the best driver doesn't always win the race. Sometimes he has the best equipment. I tell you what, earlier in this weekend, I saw great starts, like always, from Vince Sidaro and from Rod Bork.
Yes.
Those two guys have really driven well all weekend.
They have, and you know, Rod Bork has got absolutely the smallest boat out there. It's 1 inch longer than the minimum length of 20 feet. He's the only guy with a Ford engine out there, yet they make it happen with that Vestige Foreclosure group. He is in his position. He likes to be on the inside. Vince Sidaro likes to be on the inside. They're lanes 1 and 2. Kelly Stockland likes to start on the outside, but he has to in that UL 40 King and Bunnies because he's one of the supercharged boats here. Now we're down to 18 seconds to go until the start.
What do you have to do? You want to be one of the top 4 to make it into the final.
And you'd like to be top 3 because the 4th boat would be that trailer. And here they come down to the start. Somebody's just a wee bit early, and that is Kelly. He's backing off. Stockland looks like they're going to be on time. They are, but they're going with the lead is Vince Sidaro in that all black all the time Hyundai Assurance. Austin Eckert was up front on the front line. I was told he had to start 5 seconds back. He is not. We see Kelly Stockland having difficulty. Chris Grant is behind. And Kevin Eckert, he's running very slowly. He's going back to the pit area. So that changes things from the beginning. Vince Sidaro with the lead. That's where he wants to be. Just make it a nice, easy run.
John, from a pretty start standpoint, that was a really ugly start. You had boats scattered all over the place.
It happens. It happens. Remember, this is a different kind of a start than they normally do, starting from the Unlimited course and coming down for the start. And these drivers just don't have a lot of time to practice that method. We also see Austin Eckert is cutting across the infield.
Now, what is this going to mean much for? Is that legal to come straight across the course when you've got boats racing coming straight down the...
Well, that's going to be an interesting call on the officials. I would say absolutely not, but he's brought it back to the pit area regardless. Either way, Kelly Stockland has gone to the infield too. Here is Vince Sidaro at the end of his lap number 1. And then Chris Grant is operating. And right now it looks like that is it. We lost Rod Bork. He was going to be... starter on the inside, and I don't see Rod out there. There's any of the cameras picked him up.
It looks to me that there is one boat, unless they put have they stopped this heat for some reason? Because right now there is only one boat on the race course running its speed. So there it is, the black flag. So there was some kind of a problem that they stopped the heat.
Okay.
And maybe John can get in touch with the light officials and we can find out what's happened here.
I'm trying to monitor the radio, but it's not going very well.
Pretty hard for John. Our own John Lynch here is calling the race in one ear, and in the other ear he's listening to the officials. And sometimes we're left a little bit in the dark here on the tower because we don't have direct communication with the officials. So another thing that's happening right now is you still have about Vince Sodaro going around the race course, but there's a black flag. So he's going to get a lecture for not obeying that black flag and coming into the course.
He's going to be in trouble if he doesn't get off the course.
Right, Mike, what are you hearing out there?
Well, they black flagged it even before Zadaro finished his first lap here, and I'm looking for the Power Punch Kevin Ekrit's boat, because I think that may have something to do with what's going on here. Didn't see it come across the line. Everybody else got back out there.
Well, Kevin Ekrit actually brought the Power Punch back to the pit area quickly. He's already on a sling. They're lifting it out of the water. He crossed the start line and turned immediately to the pits, but he was the last one over the line.
I think I just heard over the PA something about Joe Souza and maybe still being in harm's way. I saw a boat die down here in the south turn, and it's just stayed there.
That is Souza.
Kind of just drifted out there, and I think that might have been part of the concern.
There was a boat in the far outside lane. There's actually an outside perimeter to this race course, believe it or not. It's not just the beach. There are white buoys that go around this whole race course, and the boats cannot go outside of those.
Right, he's just south of one of those right now is Joe Souza.
And he seemed far out of the way to me, but I can understand an official saying, hey, let's be safe and maybe bring him in just in case somebody got together with a dead boat.
He never actually got out onto the course. His engine quit just after he left the pits. He was sitting there during the whole warm-up period, but I guess he is in harm's way.
But just understanding that the boat was there inside the outer course markers, as Chip was talking about, with a 7-wide start, that would be the reason they would flag it off, and I haven't heard anything different yet.
So now, John, what happens at this point? Everybody's come back to the pits, and we see Vince Sodaro now coming back as well. Joe Souza's going to climb out of his capsule down there at the south end. Obviously, they all come back, they refuel, they go. They're going to take this back out again, and those boats that can start will start.
Right, and if the reason for stoppage of the heat was because of Joe Souza being where he is out on the race course, then he would not be eligible to make the restart.
Well, that's too bad because the lights have put on a really great show all weekend, and we're sorry for the confusion, but sometimes we don't get word from the official. But overall, the lights have put on a great show. All the racing has been good all weekend, actually.
And it really sets up for a final heat that should be outstanding. We do have, of course, Kaylee Perkins and Paul Becker, who had great... Okay, there will not be a rerun of the B main. It is going to be points to go into the final. Now I got to do some math, and I'm not very good at that. But anyway, that's where we go into the final. We'll get that for you in a moment.
You know, I was talking to Kaylee, and that motor that she's got in there is a Toyota NASCAR motor. Unfortunately for Kaylee, they have transmissions, so they never get the motor really lugged down. For Kaylee, that NASCAR motor, she can't really go slow to fight for the inside lane. She has to keep that motor up and revved up, and that's something Toyota is going to work out of it if they stay in boat racing. But right now, that puts Kaylee at kind of a disadvantage for getting that inside lane, does it not?
And Steve, I don't know if you know this, but you're sitting next to the guy who was responsible for making that happen in the first place.
But it really is hard because motors have a power curve. They come in at a certain time, and this motor was designed to be on a super speedway up at high speed all the time. To get that inside lane, you got to get in there early, and this motor just doesn't do that very well. So Kaylee's got maybe not an arm tied behind her back, but maybe a couple of fingers
stuck together or something.
Right.
And we saw that happen at Tri-Cities, where she got below 3,500 RPM, and the boat wouldn't run after that at all.
All right, John, well, you go do your math and get ready because, again, the top point total teams, the 4, will be now placed into the championship run for the Unlimited Lights. Meantime, our Chris Francis down in the pits is at the U.S. Army team of Joe Souza, who was the one whose boat died out here in the south turn and kind of caused this black flag situation. What are you learning, Chris?
Yeah, that's right, Steve. I'm with Josh Hyde, who's the crew chief for the U.S. Army team. And Josh, just take me through what happened. What went wrong?
Well, we got a new motor this year. We've gone from naturally aspirated to fuel-injected supercharged motor. Runs on methanol. We lost our prime, tried to get restarted, advised Joe to, shut the fuel system down, try to prime it, self-prime it itself, and unable to do so. So there was also a kind of a wicked shimmy. So we'll get it back on the trailer, see what happens, and try it again next year.
What the officials say to you? Is that why they just black flagged the race?
Black flagged the race. So since we were the cause of the black flag, we are out of the race for Seafair this year.
All right. Disappointed Josh Hyatt, then the U.S. Army team. Lee, we're going to send it over to you on the other side of the pits.
All right, and we're with Ron Burke, and actually the good news is that you are one of the 4 qualifiers, so you will be in the final race.
That's great news to me. A little disappointing we didn't get to run because we were all ready, and we had lane 1 and came around for the start, and they said black flag.
So what did you hear in the cockpit?
All I heard really was black flag. I didn't know somebody went. I did hear somebody went dead, but I really didn't know why exactly. So I just heard black flag, and everybody went by me to start. So I just came in.
So